Over the last several days, news has been broken and being shared all over the world about just heartbreaking death of a 14-year-old Florida girl. Oh, hey, I incepted myself. Hold on. There we go. I forgot to mute everything. Guys, I've just got gremlins, man. I just got gremlins. Okay, take two. We're going to cut that out in post. Guys, over the last several days, there has been news that has been broken about the death of a 14-year-old Florida girl that is absolutely just heart-wrenching. It is heartbreaking. And the twist in this whole thing is that her assailants, two of them, are teenage boys themselves. And we're going to get into this case. We'll also talk a little bit about the Brian Walsh trial. So stick with me. This video contains mature themes and discussions intended only for adult audiences. Viewer discretion is advised. Well, hello there, my friend, and welcome back to another true crime conversation with me, Gavin Fish, on my channel, unceremoniously and not all that creatively called Gavin Fish, where we like to cut past all the fluff, cut past all the sensationalism, true crime, and get down into the nitty-gritty. If that is your thing, you're in the right place, and I am glad you are. Today, we're going to be talking about the case of 14-year-old Danica Troy. 14 years old, and Danica was shot to death with a stolen handgun by a 16-year-old boy and a 14-year-old boy. Allegedly, the suspects are named Gabriel Williams, age 16, and Kamari Blevins, age 14. But before we get too far in to the Danica Troy case, let's read some headlines.
True crime headlines.
Pow! I wondered when it was going to happen. We finally got an update in the Celeste Rivas Hernandez case, but it came from TMZ. Comes from TMZ, y'all. And listen, TMZ sometimes does some pretty fantastic reporting. But in this case, I also want to point out that the LAPD has publicly refuted things that they have reported. They continue to report those things, but the LAPD is saying, nah. Before we start reading this, let me ask you, please drop in the live chat, or if you're part of our rewatch crew, drop it in the comments where you're listening from or where you're watching from. I love to hear that stuff. Okay, headline from TMZ from this very day, the 9th of December, 2025. David's record exec grilled at grand jury. Quote, why didn't you call police? Okay, the president of David's touring company was grilled Monday by a deputy district attorney in front of a grand jury on why he didn't call the cops. By the way, if the reporting is solid, this never should have come out to anyone. Grand juries are sealed, but okay. A grand jury is hearing evidence in the death of Celeste Rivas. TMZ broke the story. LAPD's robbery homicide division is considering David a suspect in what it says is an apparent homicide. Scrolling on down. Robert Morgenroth, the general manager of Mogul Vision, David's record label, is also the president of Zara Brothers Travel, David's tour company. We've learned Morgenroth testified all day before the LA grand jury. At one point, with a half dozen people in the hallway, Morgenroth came out into the hallway and was talking to his lawyer loud enough so others could hear. He said, referring to Beth Silverman, the deputy DA presenting the case before the grand jury, quote, she was very pushy on why I didn't call the police. So that apparently is how they found out, listening to conversations in the hallway. He went on to recount how he responded, quote, I feel like I didn't have the responsibility to do that. and just wanted to continue the tour. Dude, I hope that's untrue. We do not know the time frame of the tour to which he was referring, but David was on tour when Celeste's body was discovered in his Tesla, which had been parked near the LA house he was renting. This underscores that David is squarely in the crosshairs of the LAPD and the LA County District Attorney, and I think that is the entire TMZ article. I'm keeping my eye on this one because we are in the great calm, right? We're in the eye of the hurricane. Not much going on, but we will keep our eyes peeled. Now, transitioning over to the Anna Walsh murder. Of course, Anna Walsh, the mother of 3 from Cohasset, Massachusetts, who just disappeared from or after being seen in the early morning hours on January 1st, 2023 at a family kind of very quiet New Year's Eve party. And her husband, Brian Walsh, is on trial right now. We've been covering the trial quite a bit. Honestly, I needed a break and found out about Danica Troy and just felt like we got to talk about this. Anyway, in the trial today, this is coming from Mass Live, published today, expert testified about discovery of Anna Walsh's DNA. Anna Walsh's remains have never been found, but a clue as to what may have happened to the 39-year-old woman came in the form of DNA samples pulled from items found in a Swampscott dumpster, including a bloody hacksaw, a hatchet, blood-soaked towels, a Tyvek suit, and a pair of gray slippers. Investigators also found DNA on bloodstains in the basement of the Cohasset home she shared with her 3 children and her husband, Brian, who's accused of killing her, then dismembering her body and disposing of her remains at dumpsters across the state. On the 7th day of Brian Walsh's murder trial, Tuesday, prosecutors called to the stand roughly half a dozen forensic scientists at the Massachusetts State Police Crime Lab who testified those items for DNA. The final of those witnesses, Saman Salim, was by far the most crucial to their case. Salim was the forensic scientist responsible for interpreting the data derived from the DNA samples in a case at the conclusion of a 4-step process. Look, those of you that are watching, not listening to the podcast, you can see that bloody hacksaw right there. And we saw a video of him purchasing that hacksaw at Lowe's a couple days ago. Okay, a hacksaw, blah, 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 blah. On the stand, Salim testified about the results from 15 samples, some of which came from the same item. She told jurors that Anna Walsh was a highly likely contributor to the DNA found in bloodstains on a gray slipper in the basement of the Cohasset home, on the blade of a hacksaw, on a towel, on the head of a hatchet, on a cut-up piece of rug, and on the exterior left pant leg of a Tyvek suit. All of those items were recovered from trash bags found in a Swampscott dumpster near Brian Walsh's mother's apartment. Brian Walsh was excluded as a contributor to the DNA found on any of the bloodstains. The forensic scientists were able to cross-reference the DNA samples to others investigators had collected from Brian and Anna Walsh years prior to her disappearance. FBI special agents obtained samples from the couple on May 9, 2018, when Brian Walsh was arrested on federal charges for selling fake Andy Warhol paintings. Those samples were brought to the state police crime lab. Okay, so I mean that is one of the questions I had, right? Where'd they get the sample? Was it the children? Was it a familial thing? No, it was a direct thing. Anna Walsh's DNA was also found on samples taken from the handles of the hatchet and hacksaw, as well as the interior of the slippers, the interior sleeves of the Tyvek suit, and unknown tissue recovered from the dumpster. It's likely that Brian Walsh was also a contributor to DNA samples found on those items, Salim told the jury. The final item Salim examined DNA results for was a piece of tape with a stained piece of apparent gauze attached to it. Testing of the stain revealed that the DNA was 23 octillion times more likely to have originated from Brian Walsh than an unknown, unrelated individual. An octillion is the number 1 followed by 27 zeros. So Oh, let's see what cross-examination said. On cross-exam, defense attorney Larry Tipton highlighted what Salim admitted during initial questioning, that there was no way for scientists at the crime lab to determine how and when the DNA ended up on the items they tested. That is true. Based on all of your observations of the data and the results, you can't say how any of the biological material was deposited on any of the items. Tipton asked Salim, said that was correct. Well, sir, some of those things were purchased after the last time Anna Walsh was seen alive. I would say that they could probably narrow it down to a time frame. The Tyvek suit, the hatchet, the hacksaw. Give me a break. Oh my goodness. I need a break every time. Okay, hold on. I gotta repent here. Gotta repent. Okay. Brian Walsh is entitled to a competent defense. And in my opinion, what Brian Walsh did is indefensible. So they're just doing their best. But I still need some kind of, like, I don't know, transition music or something. I got to work on that. I need to get a couple transition music segments that I can just play just to clear the head, just to cleanse the palate. But anyway, those are your headlines.
True crime headlines.
Pow. All right, guys, let's go ahead. Oh, before we get into the case of Danica Troy, let me just check in with what you guys are saying here, okay? Yorkshire, UK in the house. Glad you are here. Let's see if we can get that up on the screen. There we go. Kentucky in the house. Glad you are here. Schmoopy says, my hair has so much body today. Yes, indeed. Right before I put on my headphones, I took off my little headband, which keeps my hair out of my face all day long. Now, I know that a lot of you are really kind of into the hair, the long hair on this very old guy. I can't stand it. I don't like it all that much. But we're doing it for a cause. We're doing it for a purpose. So we're going to keep on doing it. But thank you for noticing for the body. Jersey in the house. Modesto in the house. Glad you're here. Jacksonville, Florida. Yellowstone County, Montana. Fredonia, PA. Glad you're here. Scotch Mom says TMZ claims to have some LAPD on their payroll. Yeah, could be. Could be. Got more from Kentucky. Yeah, you guys are from all over the world. St. Augustine, Florida. Glad you're here. Drummond's, Tennessee. Glad you're here as well. Okay, let's get into the case at hand, shall we? This is 14-year-old Danica Troy. This story is maybe, it's got to be the worst nightmare for any parent, right? For any parent. Come with me, if you will, over to Acrobat. I've got a couple of stories that I want to go over, and then I've got about a 6-minute, maybe 7-minute clip that I want to show you of a press conference. But this, guys, this is beyond the pale. So let's come over here. This came to us from Fox 13 News in Florida. Missing Florida teen shot to death, lit on fire by friends from school, according to the sheriff. 2 Florida teenagers are in custody after deputies say a missing 14-year-old girl was found shot to death and set on fire. These teenagers are Gabriel Wilson, age 16, and Kamari Blevins, age 14. If you just saw the pain in my face, I normally don't show pictures of juveniles, but these are juveniles that appear like they're probably going to be charged criminally as adults. And either way, the sheriff in Santa Rosa County, Florida, put this information out. The media has been putting it out. So here we go. Santa Rosa County Sheriff Bob Johnson said Danica Troy was reported as a runaway by her mother around 7 a.m. on December 1 in Pace, Florida. And then, and I'm gonna get to the press conference. On December 2nd, a passerby spotted Troy's body off of Kimberly Road in Pace, called the sheriff's office. We could do a couple more things. Sheriff stated that Williams stole his mother's handgun and shot Troy, which begs the question, is the mother going to be charged as maybe an accessory before the fact or something like that? I don't know. But, this article is based on the presser. So I think what I'm going to do is let's head on over and watch this. This is about 6 or 7 minutes long. Let me see. 6:45. It has a little bit of information about another case, but it's brief. So let's have a listen.
Thanks for coming. We're going to talk about two separate homicides today. I'm going to give you an update on the one from November 25th that happened in Gulf Breeze on, I believe it was Santa Rosa Drive. Reagan Barber, 25 years of age, was shot to death in her home. I can't go into too much detail because the investigation is ongoing, but we have a solid suspect, and we expect some forensic evidence to come in soon. And once that comes in, we expect an arrest, and we'll update you on that one as soon as that occurs. On December 1st, around 7 a.m., Danica Troy, a 14-year-old, was reported as a runaway by her mother in Pace, Florida. Unbeknownst to the mother, unfortunately, Danica was murdered.
I'd say that's unfortunate, yes.
On December 2nd, deputies in Pace responded to a dead body call off of Kimberly Road. Detectives were called out, hit the ground running, and I want to say this, we've had more homicides this
I should say, by the way, the sound is really, really bad here, but that's all we got
year than normal. And our major crimes unit, who I'll put up against any major crimes unit in the country, has done a wonderful job. And so they're still working on this one from November 25th, and they get this one. So December 2nd, they get out there, they start the investigations, and this is where it gets really, horrific, actually. They developed two suspects, one a 14-year-old boy and another one a 16-year-old boy. The 16-year-old boy, Gabriel Williams, stole his mother's handgun and shot Danica Troy. Kamari Blevins is the 14-year-old. Put their pictures up. They are currently at DJJ. They're being held on first-degree premeditated murder charges.
That's Juvenile Detention Center, DJJ.
And here's where it even gets worse. It's bad enough you kill a 14-year-old, you're 14, you're 16, shoot her multiple times, then they set her on fire. So deputies get out there, they hit the ground running, they find both suspects, we get them in custody, and right now there's not a clear motive, but I can tell you this, we're going to be hopefully working with the state attorney's office to get these individuals charged as adults.
I love how he had to pause to figure out how to describe them.
You do an adult crime, you need to do adult time. So that's going to be the next effort we're putting forth. So any questions about this homicide?
Yeah, what was the relation between the shooters and the victim?
Friends, supposedly? Yeah.
Any word on, have they been interrogated yet? Is there any word on a motive?
No, not on a motive, but, well, of course, they have been interviewed, but the motive that they're giving doesn't fit the forensics or any facts of the case. So we don't have a legit motive.
Can you say what they told you guys?
No, not at this point. Not until we talk to the state attorney's office and get some more things hashed out. But I can tell you this. This is what Major Crimes calls a ground ball. The evidence pointed to them immediately. They took them into custody
stupid kids.
And, unfortunately for, the Troy family, they have to go through this. So.
I know that they're young, but any criminal history?
I think we've had run-ins with them before, as in being arrested. I don't know if they have any.
Any charges for the mother?
Oh, not at this time, no.
Do you expect any charges for any of the parents?
We're still looking into it, so I can't really say.
How long has it been since a murder has happened kind of like this before here in this area?
I would say the last one, probably Escambia, where the two kids killed their parent. I mean, That was the last one I think. I think that was in the 90s. Unfortunately, homicides, you have them, and normally it's adult, or sometimes maybe it's, a juvenile adult, but this is the first one since I've been sheriff, and I've been sheriff since 2016, so.
And then, you might have already said this, but what led you guys to find the body? Can you go into, was there a 911 call? Did someone stumble across this?
Yeah, somebody stumbled across the body, called us, and then that's how we found it. So, and, needless to say, not only the person who found the body was traumatized, our major crimes detectives have to see stuff like this. You don't want to go out and see a burnt child with bullet holes. I mean, that's not something you sign up for, but unfortunately, you get put in that position. So
That's an important point. I think a lot of us here in the true crime community recognize this, right? The men and women who investigate these crimes, they have, and all of the supporting staff, everybody that has to process the crime scene, has to take pictures, everybody being exposed to this stuff just has to kick their mental health butts, right? It's gotta just be painful.
What's your next step with these two?
Next step is getting with the state attorney and hopefully get them charged as an adult, both of them as adults, and hopefully they go to adult prison, which is where they need to go. Like I said, you do an adult crime, you got to do the adult time. That's what
Which one is the 16-year-old?
The 16-year-old is Gabriel Williams. The 14 is Kamari Blevins, and she was 14 as well, the victim. So I believe they were acquaintances from school.
What school was that?
High Roads was where the suspects went, I believe. And as I said before, on the other case, we should have some updates coming here pretty quick.
I think that's
Santa Rosa.
oh no, there's a little bit more.
Is there an arrest imminent on that?
I think so. It depends on when the forensic evidence gets back, but as soon as it gets back, we're pretty much going to have somebody in custody pretty quick.
And just for my edification,
Yeah.
can you remind me about that murder again?
Yeah, it was in Gulf.
Yeah, he's talking about the other one. So I think we've covered it here. Now there are a couple of updates in the case since then. Let me bring you back over to Acrobat, and then we can talk about it a little bit. This from the New York Post, written by Chris Nessie, says Danica Troy's killers lured a daughter into woods, claiming they had a crush on her. This according to the mom. Okay. One of the boys arrested in the cold-blooded murder of Florida teen Danica Troy cruelly tricked her into following them into the woods by claiming he had a crush on her, the slain girl's mother told the Post. Quote, Gabe pretended to have feelings for her. That's how she was lured, Ashley Troy said of 16-year-old Gabriel Williams, who has been charged with first-degree premeditated murder in the girl's death, along with 14-year-old Kamari Blevins. By the way, Ashley Troy is very active on Facebook. There are, there are pretty recent posts out there. I don't know how I don't know. Maybe I should just shut up. Maybe I should just shut up. Gavin, just shut up. But I don't know what's going on in Florida with parents talking to the press. Like, as a member of the press, I want them to talk to me, but also, dude, like, it's better for you and for the case if you just don't talk. But okay. I'm just really not impressed with Danica's mom. I guess that I don't know her, and I really only just read some Facebook posts. So what do I know? Maybe I should just shut up. Anyway, quote, I still need answers. I'm just left asking why. She just wanted to be in love, Danica's heartbroken mother shared. Ashley reported her 14-year-old daughter missing on December 1st, and police found her body in a wooded area in the Panhandle community of Pace the next day after a report from a passerby. She was shot multiple times and her body was set on fire. This whole set on fire thing is a desperate. It's a sign of desperation by stupid criminals, in this case, stupid teenagers. Oh my goodness. Compounded. Like, can you get even any more stupid than a criminal teenager? I don't think so. I don't think that you can just multiply those things. They got a cube or something. It's just so dumb. They're just so dumb, but it is a desperation move. Desperation. And it helps investigators. It ultimately helps investigators. Police quickly identified Blevins and Williams as the primary suspects and came to believe during their investigation that the killing was the result of a fight on social media that happened over Thanksgiving break. Yeah, that's a good idea. Settle your minor disagreements with murder. It's like we're living in the old west or something like that. Call me a liar. It's dumb. Just so dumb. Authorities said the boys wanted Danica dead because she blocked Blevins on social media and insulted Williams by calling him, quote, worthless and a gangbanger. However, Ashley disputed their claims, saying what those boys said is an excuse. Both teen suspects have had prior run-ins with cops, but the nature of those encounters was not immediately clear because they are minors. In the wake of the horrific murder, the Troy family's place of worship, Avalon Baptist Church in nearby Milton, is hosting a candlelight vigil in Danica's honor on Monday night. That would have been yesterday. The accused killers remain in juvenile detention without bond. Ashley Troy previously told the Post that although she blames evil influence for the savage murder rather than the boys themselves, she said she wants, quote, nothing less for them to be prosecuted to the full extent of the law. Doesn't that sound like I'm sorry to be so judgy, man. Guys, I'm really on one here. But doesn't Ashley Troy just come off just a little bit strange? Like she is. Sometimes I will interview people who, for example, I did this series on the Venango County Prison in Western Pennsylvania. Allegations that people had been abused while in the county jail, and as part of that, I'm interviewing people that have been in the county jail, and for the most part, they're like career petty criminals. They do bad things. That just means that they are criminals who got abused, right? Doesn't mean that they're lying. Just anyway. And as I interview these folks in this case and in others, I'm constantly questioning in my brain, can you hear the words that are coming out of your mouth? Everything that you're telling me is abnormal. It's not normal. But because they are kind of in that community of people that encounter the police a lot and commit crimes a lot of it has to do with drug addiction. They speak in ways that one can recognize as, oh, this person has a lot of experience with the criminal justice system. And I'm reading all of like 4 sentences from Ashley Troy, plus what she posted on Facebook. And I just feel like, you know what? Danica was not being raised in the best environment. I guess I'm just super judgy here, and maybe you guys will need to slap me down a little bit, but dang it, man. All right. So that was an article from yesterday. Then comes this article from today. Danica Troy's suspect's guardian busted on drug charges on same day as teen's murder. This brought to us again by the New York Post, again by Chris Nessie. Okay. The legal guardian of one of the Florida teens accused in the horrific slaying of 14-year-old Danica Troy was busted on drug charges within hours of the murder, which saw Troy lured into the woods, executed, and set on fire. Jana Williams, 36, who cops said for the time had custody of teen murder suspect Gabriel Williams, 16, after the death of his mother, was arrested and booked into Santa Rosa County Jail on a probation violation and felony drug possession. Oh my goodness, Gavin. Possession, December 1st, court records show. So maybe this is an aunt or something like that. Cops told the Post that investigators are also looking into whether Gabriel stole his aunt's handgun and used it to kill Danica. And it does say Jana Williams' aunt and one-time guardian. Interesting. Okay. Jana Williams had been on probation stemming from an arrest for possession of a controlled substance and drug paraphernalia in April, and her rap sheet includes a handful of traffic, theft, and drug charges from October 2023. The fresh charges against Williams lodged by the Santa Rosa Sheriff's Office on December 1st include felony probation violation, felony drug possession, and one misdemeanor, each for a moving traffic violation and possession of drug equipment. She's being held without bond. A Facebook photo posted in February 2022 shows Williams, her husband, and her accused murderer nephew, Gabriel, at Universal Studios Florida in Orlando. Okay, Gabriel Williams and Kamari Blevins, 14, have both been charged with first-degree premeditated murder in Troy's death. Yeah. And an inquiry to the Office of the State Attorney in the First Judicial Circuit Court of Florida as to whether they would be charged as adults or whether the suspect's parents would face charges was not answered Monday. So, yeah, that's what's going on. Now I'm going to go over, let's bring up Danica again, and I'm going to go to your comments, which I hope are kind, because, I'm having a hard time with my judginess. Let's see. ML Loftus says, I agree, Gavin. Oh my goodness. Okay, well, good. Julie Martino says, I agree with you. Read her statement. Yeah, I did. Steph, Gavin, what does ghosted online mean? It means that she was not, like, after, I can't remember which part. Well, what it means is that one party will stop communicating with another party online, whether that's Snapchat, Messenger, text, whatever. They just ignore the other party. That's what that means. Let's see if there's any other comments. You guys haven't been commenting a lot with stuff. Julie Martino says the parent needs to face charges as well if weapon was not locked up. Yep. Rooter 7777 is a very sad story. They all are. Yeah. And Rooter says, haha, Gavin, I'm a bit judgy too. Julie Martinez says I was a bit judgy too. So, okay, well, we're a bunch of judgies in good company, I guess. But let's keep an eye on this case, as with all the cases that we cover here, to see what develops over time. I do hope that these young men are charged as adults. Yeah, I really do. You don't go and do that and say, oh, but I'm just a juvenile. I didn't know. Everybody knows. Everybody knows not to do that. And that is the story of Danica Troy. Again, we'll come back to it when we have more information. With that, it's time for 3 questions. Let's get into it.
It's 3 questions with Gavin Fish.
Pow! All right, guys, you know the deal. In this segment, I answer 3 questions. 3 questions that you have sent to me. And my solemn promise to you is that I will answer the questions that come in. I will not avoid them. I will not sidestep them. Everything's on the table. You can ask me anything. Anything. Now, just to give you just maybe a couple of ideas of what kinds of questions to ask. It can be about the stories we cover. It can be about crime. It can be about me. It can be about my family. I have been Captain Nostalgia lately just because of my 50th birthday back in October, and I just can't shake this post midlife crisis that's just like a nostalgia pit for me. So if you want to ask questions about my childhood and stuff, that would actually be cathartic for me. Okay. But nothing's off the table. You can ask me anything you want. Let's get into question number one. Question number one is a simple one. Are you a cat or a dog lover? So frequent viewers of this show will know that we recently got two little kittehs. They are our very first kittetes of all time. They are sisters. They are Betty Haynes and Judy Haynes, the Haynes sisters. We could have gotten their brother too, but nobody wants Benny dog-faced Haynes. We just don't want that. So we got the Haynes sisters. One's a little black and white tuxedo. The other one's a little gray and white with stripes. They're adorable cats. I think that I am a cat person. I think I am. Now, I've never had cats ever before. I've always only had dogs. In fact, that reminds me. I recently, let me get back to this view, found these manila envelopes in a box in the basement that I've been schlepping around since at least 1994. Just speaking of cats, so and this is my handwriting from when I was a kid. 1994 would make me 18 years old. And I kept these for some reason, but one of them was a birthday card. Got a couple of cards in here. One of them was a birthday card that was kind of an inside joke. I had a friend who had a cat that she just loved, and I did not love that cat. It was really fun to go through those. I scanned in all the letters and I texted or emailed them off to the people who had sent them to me back in 1994. I don't know why in 1994 I was keeping everything. But anyway, I've never been a cat person. Really the only other experience I ever had with a cat was that friend's cat. And I don't know. You know what it was? Wrong. You know what it was? I was jealous of that cat. That's what it was. I had envy of that cat. The attention that cat got. But anyway, prior to Betty and Judy Haynes, the Haynes sisters, we have only ever had dogs. I used in my old studio or my old setup, I don't think I have them. Hold on. Please hold. Please hold. I do. This right here was the world's greatest dog. This is Marshall. He is the Marshall White Earp fish. He was already a pretty old man when that picture was taken, but I just love I love the picture. He got way more white around the muzzle. He's a good boy. He taught all three of our older children, because he wasn't around with the two youngers, how to walk. He was their little walker. They would just grab onto his lips or his ears or his tail or his fur, and he would patiently walk them wherever they wanted to go. He was a good boy. This was his collar, which I keep and need to put back up somewhere. This is the collar, and you can tell the difference between what is this? Yeah, between Watsy and Marshall, very different sized dogs. He was our Great Dane, and then yeah, we had Livy Girl too. So we've always been dog people, but we sure are enjoying our cats. They are doing great. All right, next question. Whatever happened? Actually, I see a question that I should probably stop here real quick. Rooter says, "What is the reference to the Haynes sisters?" I mean, hold on, I got the wrong things up. There we go. Oh, I got that up too. All right. Yes, they are named after Betty and Judy Haynes from Irving Berlin's classic Christmas tale, White Christmas. They Betty in the movie, Betty Haynes was played by Rosemary Clooney, and Judy was played by Vera Ellen. So they are the Haynes sisters. And of course, the running joke in that play is that they were beautiful and they had the world's ugliest brother, dog-faced Haynes. Freckle-faced Haynes, the dog-faced boy. That's what it is. So, yes, that is the reference. Okay, going on to the next question. Whatever happened to Jen Soto, Madeline Soto's mother? She was conspicuously absent from Stephen Stern's sentencing. It's like she just vanished, although there was speculation that she may have checked herself inpatient for psychiatric treatment. After the sentencing of Stephen Stearns, I wanted to just forget about him. So I haven't been paying close attention, but today, because this question came in, I did some searching around. And yes, I do remember that at the advice of her attorney, at least according to Stephen Stern's parents, Jen Soto had checked herself in for psychiatric treatment. But I did some searching and I can't find anything on Jennifer Soto at all. She just dropped off the planet, and I don't blame her for doing so. I really thought that there would be charges against her by now, but alas, there are not. All right, question number 3. Oh, this question was couched in, I should have copied in the entire question. Said that they loved the pictures of the house. So for those of you that don't know, we live in an historic home in Western Pennsylvania, kind of in the oil heritage region of Pennsylvania where oil was first pumped out of the ground. And this whole area was just littered with beautiful old homes, big mansions. In some case, I think the biggest home in, I don't want to overstate this, the biggest home in our county, I want to say is 40,000 square feet. For those of you, but it might be 20. I think it's 40 though. For those of you using the metric system, that is 360,000, right? 40,000. Yeah, that's 360,000 square meters. It's huge. No. That's not right. It's divided by. Sorry. So it's 4,400 square meters. 40,000 square feet. It's huge. Our house is not even close to that. But anyway, the question is, have you experienced any paranormal activity or friendly spirits in our home? We get asked that question all the time. We get asked that question so often it's not even funny, because the house does resemble something that you would see on Scooby-Doo. Right? It is an old Victorian style home. And when we first got here, we were kind of, I guess, on edge with all the noises that the house makes. I mean, it's 120, 123, almost 124 years old. And, you know, it leaks like a sieve, and it's just so when it's windy, you can hear it in the house, and it settles weird, and bats get up in the attic and then they crawl down the walls, and yeah, there are all sorts of sounds. And then so we joke that we have a house ghost. We named him Jimmy. Well, we didn't name him. His name is Jimmy. And anytime there's something weird that we hear or see, we just blame it on Jimmy, the friendly house ghost. The other thing we tell people is that he likes to play the piano, but the reality is we have a player piano. So those are the questions. Now, I know that you guys are talking over here. What's with the cat setting a fire reference? A cat setting a fire reference. I don't know. I don't know. Scotch Mom says, I'm a cat person too. Cooler by the Lake says, cats and dogs are not mutually exclusive. I have 2 of each. That's pretty cool. Pretty cool. Anunya Mouse, was that the whole story, or was there something more? No, I think that's it. Rooter 7777 about Jen Soto says the DA was not going to take it further from what I gather on other platforms. Okay. But yeah, I think that she needs to be arrested. Anyway, let's see. A lot of people have little rescue kitties. That's pretty awesome. Pretty awesome. Yeah, we adopted our little kitties from a rescue in Clarion County, Pennsylvania. It's just kind of awesome. They were just little kittetes, and we like them. Hey, before we go for the night, let me just bring you over to me ol' website and remind you that you can get in touch with me at gavinfish.com. There's always a link down in the description. While you're there, you can read Crime Cod stories. You can visit crimecod.com, which is my true crime news website. Please check that out. Also, if you click on this little fishy icon, that will take you to the fish tank, where we are 5,800 besties hanging out in a Facebook group. And if Facebook's your thing, you're always welcome. I posted something today. Since everybody has received a Christmas card that is going to receive a Christmas card, we did a Christmas card this year that we made to be like a yearbook with senior portraits. So I posted my senior portrait. I mean, I am 50. I'm practically a senior citizen. And so I posted my senior portrait on there. The last senior portrait I had was 1993. And that Brandon Walsh looking kid there with the big gap in his teeth, but the perfect wave. I mean, I was so proud of my hair that day. It just looked so good. I must have used a blow dryer. I must have. I mean, it just came off so well. Anyway, so if you just like talking about true crime and the cases, actually, here's one. Wondering if I've missed something, as Gavin said he's not covering Madeline Soto Stearns anymore. I guess I will if there is something that happens. I will cover it. Man, my headphones have moved forward and it's pushing my hair forward. I look a little Joe Dirt going on there, don't I? But yeah, I will cover Stearns if something happens. I know that Paula over at Plunder has released a few things, but I just want to forget that guy unless something else major happens. But come on over. The water is fine in the fish tank. You're always welcome. Also, before we go, there is a support me page on my website. I'm so deeply grateful to everybody who supports me in this little YouTube journey, including watching this video and commenting and sharing. And I am deeply appreciative of those who just send me PayPal every once in a while, or send me a package, or donate in the tip jar. Thank you for doing that, especially my patrons. Thank you to my patrons and to my members. One of the other ways that you can support me is subscribing to my newsletter. It's kind of, I call it a de vez en cuando newsletter. It just kind of happens every once in a while. And if you wouldn't mind if you think she deserves it, and you can. This is a guilt-free invitation. Please buy my lead moderator, Autumn, coffee. Couple last questions before we go. Julie Martino asks if I've decided I'm going to CrimeCon. And I have applied to go, but I have not heard back whether or not I will be in Content Creators Row. And Autumn says she got the Christmas card today. Good. Glad you got it, Autumn. Deeply grateful for you and for our friendship. All right, guys, with that, we're going to call it a day. Thank you so much for visiting with me tonight. We'll be back tomorrow at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I think we are going to pivot back over into the Brian Walsh trial coverage, unless something else happens that I think that we need to cover, but I think we will pivot back over there. I'm probably going to be ending a little bit early tomorrow, because our son has his first band concert of the year, and I don't want to miss that. So that's what we're going to be doing. With that, I bid you adieu. Thank you very much for being here. I'll catch you on the next one. Thank you very much for watching this video. If you liked what you saw, please consider subscribing. And if you have any questions or comments, please leave them below.